Hey guys, it's Cassidy, and I am right now getting ready to complete challenge number 2 of Kid Carson's Intern Army. This challenge, we were tasked with finding a famous person and either interviewing them or getting an endorsement from them. The famous person that I found happens to be like the queen of Kelowna, a Vancouver favorite, Jillian Harris. You may know Jillian Harris from Jason Mesnick's season of The Bachelor, her own season of The Bachelorette, Love It or List It Vancouver, or you might just know her as that really cool influencer that has the Jilly Box. Jillian has such a big heart, and I'm so excited to talk to her and just get to know her a little bit, get to know the real Jilly. So let's get into it. So, the very first season of The Bachelorette I ever saw was your season. What was the highlight of being on the show?
Making out with several guys on the same night. That was actually pretty cool. Now that at the time, I think I hated it.
Yeah.
But now looking back, now that I'm a one-man woman, I'm like, that was actually pretty fun. I'll never get that opportunity again.
No.
But I think truthfully, it was just like traveling around the world and obviously experiencing things as like a small town girl. I never experienced, like I had my own limousine, my own driver. I got to fly first class. We were in helicopters. Like we went to Spain and New Zealand. Not New Zealand was Jason's season, but anyway, it was amazing. It was just so cool. I'm this small town girl that grew up in a town of like 6,000 people.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden I was treated like the North America's most, coveted actress. It was insane. It was so crazy.
Yeah. What was your favorite place to go to?
It's weird. Like being on that show is strange. You're almost like, have you ever heard of the term Stockholm syndrome? It's like it's almost like you've been captive and you know that there's all these amazing things that you should be seeing, but you're so brainwashed in what's going on. I didn't really truly enjoy the experience. Like I think I did enjoy it, but not the way, like if I were to travel to Spain or Hawaii or New Zealand, I'm sure like you're not allowed to leave your room. You're not allowed to leave your room unless you're on camera. You're not allowed to have a cell phone. You're not allowed to have a camera. You're not allowed to go anywhere without a producer. So they get you a really big fancy hotel room and you basically order in, and the only time you get to leave is if you're going to like a date that's going to be on camera. So looking back, I'd love to go back to Spain, like Sevilla and Barcelona. I'd love to go see those spaces again because I remember thinking, oh, this is so amazing, but I never really got to experience it on my terms. So when coronavirus ends.
Yeah. How are you coping with coronavirus? Like, has it changed much of your everyday life?
So at first, not really, only because I'm kind of a hermit to begin with. My bubble, I think, is fairly small. And I'll be honest, I don't think I'm doing it right. I do get a lot of flack and emails and messages from people saying, like, I've noticed your bubble is greater than 6. And why are you traveling? And why are you doing this? And so I think there are different levels of comfort when it comes to coronavirus. I know people in my not in my close circle, but I can see them and they just think it doesn't exist. They refuse to wear masks. They do what they have just carried on their life as usual. And then there are people that literally are just with their safe 6, which means you're safe 6. So people like understand. I'm sure they do. It's literally you're 6 people. Those 6 people aren't allowed to see any other 6 people. So it's just 6 people have to stay within one group. And I just don't know anybody who's doing that. And I'm not endorsing that. I'm not trying to be, but I think unless you have like a severe, and I think maybe that's what the world needs to do in order to make it happen. But, we have a team, we have grandmas and grandpas and during the initial lockdown, we did it for a month and a half. We did it just with me, Justin, and the kids. And, it was definitely different, but obviously not sustainable forever when you think about the economy and mental health and everything.
Yeah.
When they went into phase 2, we were like one of the first people to like get out and get on the road and go traveling safely. So, I think right now in BC, it's a little bit interesting because now we're going a little bit backwards. So we're having conversations with our team and with our family. For example, we were supposed to do an event this weekend where it was literally just me, Tori, and Justin and Charles, like only 4 of us. We decided to do it virtually. And it really sucks because I miss the old life. I miss traveling. I miss groups. I miss people. I'm a people person.
Mm.
But at the same time, I don't want to be an asshole. I kind of want this to be over. So, we're adjusting. And I think that our comfort level is somewhere in between. And when we are out in public, I try to make sure I'm wearing a mask. I try to make sure I'm sanitizing. Luckily, we have close family in town that we get to spend time with, and we keep it to that close circle. But I guess one of the things, like, this can be controversial, and I have to be careful how I speak, but you start to think about, like, well, what is the end game? Because until there's a vaccine that everybody's comfortable taking,
Yeah.
where are we going to basically just be shifting like this for the next 5 years, where there's going to be like a new breaking news every day that this is what we have to do? Now we have to go back into lockdown. And like, eventually there are people who are gonna, I'm not saying that's me, but I can
Yeah.
sense it. I can sense it. The first lockdown, everybody's like, okay, let's do it. And then as time goes on, people are just gonna say, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that that's how I feel, but I see people feeling that way. And you wonder what is going to happen. I don't know. I've never experienced anything like this before. So that scares me as a mother and as somebody who loves my community and as a business person. I wonder, how is that going to affect my business, my ability to donate back to the community? How's that going to affect my children's mental health, my parents' mental health, like the economy, all those things? But I guess we just don't know. I guess you just have to play it by ear. It's crazy.
Exactly. That gets to like one of my next questions. How has this affected your business?
So it really hasn't affected the business, which I'm really grateful for. I mean, my business is online and it is
Mhm.
fairly remote anyways. Luckily, there are a lot of companies that have shifted and figured out how to keep their company in business. And most of the businesses I work with are online businesses. So it really hasn't affected the business other than, I think about a year or two ago, we really decided to shift our business away from just like your mainstream marketing, your mainstream influencer, trying to figure out how to get back to our community, get back to small local businesses, how to use our platform for good. And so we really thought that we had like really nailed it. But when coronavirus hit, and then shortly after the BLM movement, I just really felt like we could take it one step further. And
Mhm.
so when coronavirus hit and George Floyd was killed, I was like, you know what? We're taking it to the next level. We're going to become B Corp certified. We're going to donate a certain percentage of our profits every year to charities. We've actually hired two specific people on our team that basically just deal with community values, donations, charity projects. So it is even becoming more and more about working with small businesses. Who are you working with? How are we giving back to our community? I dedicate at least 20% of my week to doing cameos and raising money for charity. So, it really has changed our business, but luckily for the better. I think we're working harder for those in need. And I think we're so grateful to be able to still be in business and then provide jobs. So my goal is to keep on trying to increase our sales so that I can keep on providing jobs and giving back to our local community. And that's all I can do.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No, we're really
You're doing
lucky.
some like great work. Wow.
Thank you.
Um, when you started out on television and started your whole brand, you didn't have the social media presence that Bachelor stars have now coming off of the show. How did you build your brand to be as big as it is today? Because it's truly amazing.
I wish so bad that I would have had like a Facebook and Instagram account the second it came out. It's so weird. I actually fought social media to begin with. I still actually think that social media should go away. I'm sure there's lots of good things that come from social media. But Justin always says, like, if social media went away, like, what would happen to your job? And I'm like, I'm confident I would figure something out, but I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if social media is doing more bad than it is good, and so
Yeah.
that kind of makes me sad. But I try to make the best out of it as possible. I try to like be a voice for good. I try to like, I'm like every day I'm like, hey, I've got to turn this into a good thing. But I think it's because I'm a people person and I like to talk and I like to communicate. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of people out there that don't seek approval. And slowly, the older I get, the more like crusty I get, the more like I'm like, hey, fuck it. I can't care what all these people are thinking, very much like Kid Carson. Um, but Kid Carson is actually very sensitive. Him and I have had a few really deep conversations over the years
Oh, that's amazing.
about social media, actually. But anyways, um, I think over time I've just realized I want to do good with my voice. I want to do good with my platform. I want to give back to the community. I want to communicate with people. I want to make people laugh. I want to inspire people. And I think that's just what started it. And I definitely am also an ideas person. So every time I got a new idea and I didn't have time or capacity for it, I would just hire somebody else or figure out a way to make it happen. And so just over time, that's just kind of like grown the company to what it is right now. And I truly, honestly believe I could hire 100 people today and I would have enough work for them. Like I have so many ideas. I'm like, what about this? What about that? What about this? But we're trying to just grow slowly and purposefully and sustainably. So maybe one day.
One day you'll have like 100 employees
Yeah, right.
working for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of like all these different ideas and projects, what inspired you to create the Jilly Box?
So really what happened was I was doing a lot of partnership opportunities with different subscription boxes. So I did a few projects for Box of Zoe, which Rachel Zoe does. And I also did some with FabFitFun and Kiwi Crate. And every time I did one of those sponsored stories, my community would always say like, you should have your own Jilly Box. Like you should have your own box of your favorite things. And Mindy and Shay, who are on our team, kind of like had an idea that we would just do like one box and see how it worked out. And because we have so many small brands that are always reaching out to us, asking me to collaborate, it's like physically impossible to take on every one of those partnerships. If I did that, I would just be like a constant revolving, like, what do you want to call those? Commercial, what do you call those things? Side of the road.
I know what you mean.
One of those big signs on the side of the road.
Oh, it's like a
billboard.
Like flashing,
a billboard.
Yeah, billboard.
Yeah. I would literally be a walking billboard, which sometimes I already do feel that way. So I was like, how can we give back to some of these small companies and give them business in bulk, right? So we thought if we launched the Jilly Box, it would be anywhere from like 5 to 10 companies a quarter. A lot of these companies wanted to do collaborations. They wanted me to help design stuff with them. So I'm like, this is perfect. We'll curate all my favorite things per season, give those people all the love, attention, marketing that they are hoping for, and everybody wins. So that was kind of the idea. And it has been a fucking gong show, but I love it. But it has not been easy. Every box, there's an issue, there's a bump in the road, a product isn't made the way I signed off on it, or a product comes in damaged, or there's a virus and the boxes have to go late. You know, it's insane. It's crazy, but you know what? It's fine. We're slowly, every launch, it becomes a little bit more smooth and a little bit more smooth.
Oh yeah, all part of the process.
Totally.
So I know you're from Kelowna. I'm from Fort Langley. So I go
Oh,
up
you
to
are?
Kelowna. Yeah. I go up to Kelowna all the time because my family has a condo up there. And I know you're the local celebrity. I actually went on a wine tour this summer and my tour guide could not stop talking about you. He was like obsessed with you.
Oh, that's so cute. That's awesome.
So I was wondering, what's your favorite winery in Kelowna?
I would definitely have to say Quail's Gate.
Oh, I love
that. I love Sandhill, Summer Hill, Mission Hill, a lot of hills.
Yeah.
Grey Monk. There's a lot of great ones, but I usually love all of the wines at Quail's Gate. There's not many that I don't like. They have a really great restaurant that I love. All of their food is sustainably and locally sourced.
Oh, wow.
And it's like a 2-minute drive from my house. So, and I also grew up, my cousin Tori, who you might know as well,
yes.
Grew up literally like her house was right across the street from Quail's Gate. So I grew up like the moment I could drink, I was drinking their wine. I was drinking their Chab. Like that's what I grew up on. So yeah, it just kind of reminds me of home.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Okay. And then final question, since I don't want to take up too much more of your time, do you have any advice for me? I'm 22, going into the media industry. Any advice?
I honestly think it's just confidence and believing yourself. I know that sounds super cliche, but you always have to think of like what the worst case scenario is, and failure is such an incredible tool. People see me as this like successful Canadian, or maybe some people don't, but anyway, some people do. And I've had a lot of failures. I've had a lot of people say no. I fucked up a lot. I've lost a lot of money. I've been fired before. There's many things that I've been dumped. I've been heartbroken. I've been cheated on, all those things. And every single time one of those setbacks happen, it taught me to be stronger and stronger. And I just thought, well, what's the alternative? I can't give up. I have to keep on going. And we are working on becoming B Corp certified right now. And one of the coolest things that we've learned from them is creating your big, hairy, audacious goal, which is like, what is the biggest goal that you can think of? Like, what is the biggest goal that you think like you could, that people would look at you and they would be like, no, that could never happen. That would never happen to you. Tell me what that is.
Me?
What that is, like your biggest, craziest goal that everybody would say like, no, there's no way, that could never happen to you. This would never work.
Ooh. I feel like mine would be like to be a host on Entertainment Tonight.
That's easy though. You could do that. That's possible. You could do that. Come on, something that's not possible. Like flying to the moon. What about being the #1 globally recognized, like the next
like Ryan Seacrest.
There you go. Okay, that's a good one, but there's got to be even bigger. So like it's so funny when my team was asking me what it was, I was like, well, to be this, that, and this, and they're like, to have my own store or whatever. Like, yeah, that's easy. And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, well, I've always wanted my own line of hotels. I want to have my own line of hotels. Jillian Harris hotels. I'm like, I also want like my own, like it would be like Target, but smaller, and it'd be all of my favorite things in the store. And you could get like housewares and clothes and food, and there'd be like a cafe. It'd be like kind of like Holt Renfrew Nordstrom meets Target, but like Jillian Harris, and they'd be like all over the country. And so, just thinking about all those things. And so for you and for anybody who's listening right now, when you're thinking about like, I'm 22 and I'm just starting out, what is your big, hairy, audacious goal? The thing that you think that you could never, ever accomplish and people would laugh at you. So determine what that is. And every day wake up thinking that you can do that, that is possible, because there's people in the world that literally have gone to the moon, that have created like their own rockets and their own cars and their own hotel chain and their own food chain and their own magazine and their own book or whatever it is. Wow. So like maybe one day you'll have your own like broadcasting school, like maybe one day, right? You just never know. And so that's the thing, is like keep your goals high, and even if they seem like they're not reachable, it's okay if it never happens, but at least you're always looking for something that is almost unattainable, and you have to obviously balance to a point where you're not like driving yourself insane, because for some reason you still haven't become the next Ryan Seacrest. But I think it does help you. It does help you have a vision and a goal that is like way out there. And then you don't get mixed up and trip over all the little shit that happens on the way there. All the little stuff does not matter. I mean, you treat people with kindness and respect, and you work hard, and you put your nose to the grindstone. And what are you wasting your life on? Like, I'm always scrolling on freaking Facebook and Instagram. I'm like, this is such a waste of time. Like, I should be reading. I should be gardening. I should be making pizza dough. And so I'm always questioning myself, those things. And I think we live in a really interesting time where I think people your age and even my age, we have this opportunity right now. There's a really weird shift in our world, and we need a lot of energy, good energy put out there, and people to fight for what's right, so that our kids and our future can grow up and they can look back and say, well, that was the good old days, right? So that's that. There's lots of stuff. Yeah.
That's a lot to think about. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
What's that? You're welcome.
I'm like so honored.
You're welcome. I'm so happy your mom reached out. I love it. I probably wouldn't even responded if it wasn't your mom. I love it when moms like love their kids so much. Now that I'm a mom, I think about like how much I would want the best for my kids and my daughter, and I would do anything for them. So tell your mom I said thank you, and tell Kid Carson to give you the job. Tell him I said hi, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Have a good day. Also, love the new office. It's so adorable.
Isn't it pretty? I know. I love it.
So pretty. Okay.
I love it. Okay. Well, good luck, and thanks for reaching out.
I just interviewed Jillian Harris.